The Indian ceremonial pipe has intrigued laymen and scholars for years. Part of this mystery is the product of many colorful legends. One such story is the Dakota legend of the white buffalo calf woman. In olden times, it was the custom for all bands of the Teton Dakota to gather at a certain place at least once a year, when the grass was heavy and everything was beautiful.
Two young men were sent to scout for game. As they returned, there suddenly appeared before them a beautiful young woman, dressed in white buckskin and carrying a sage fan. Not knowing what to do or say, they hesitated, saying nothing. She spoke first, telling them that she had been sent by the buffalo to deliver something of great importance. The young men were to tell the people of her coming. This proved to the other young man that this woman had great powers, so he ran to tell his people of these strange happenings. At sunrise the next morning, the young maiden reappeared. She was dressed as when first seen by the young men, except that she carried a pipe instead of a sage fan. She entered the sacred lodge which had been prepared for her coming. The men were told that the pipe was sacred and must be used only for good things, as only good would come from the pipe. She then taught them how to use the pipe, to release its great power. After having done this, she presented the pipe to the chief and left, walking very slowly. As soon as she was outside, she began turning into a buffalo calf and disappeared.
The story of the white buffalo calf woman and the song of Hiawatha are both legends. Tonight you are sitting on the edge of the legendary Great Red Pipestone Quarry. For centuries, Native American people have come here to quarry the stone from which they carve their sacred pipes. The Pipestone quarries within the Pipestone National Monument are considered by many Native Americans as one of the most sacred places on the face of the earth. This is a place of peace. When enemies encountered one another at the quarries, they would lay down their weapons and work together. Native Americans are the only people allowed to quarry the pipestone. Primitive tools are still used today to reach the stone and then to fashion the pipes. The pipe given to the Native American people long ago is considered sacred by many and is still used in spiritual ceremonies today. In these Native American spiritual ceremonies, the pipe is used to send prayers to the Creator. As the smoke rises toward the heavens, their prayers are carried to the Creator. It is an honor to say that the pipe originates from the Great Red Pipestone Quarry here in Pipestone, Minnesota.
Should you ask me Whence these stories? Whence these legends and traditions, with the odors of the forest, with the dew and damp of meadows, with the curling smoke of wigwams, with the rushing of great rivers, with their frequent repetitions and their wild reverberations, as of thunder in the mountain? I should answer, I should tell you of the song of Hiawatha. Ye who love a nation's legends, love the ballads of a people that like voices from afar off call to us to pause and listen. Listen to this Indian legend, to this song of Hiawatha. Ye whose hearts are fresh and simple, who have faith in God and nature, who believe that in all ages every human heart is human, that in even savage bosoms there are longings, yearnings, strivings for the good they comprehend not. Listen to the simple story, to this song of Hiawatha. By the shores of Gitche-Gumee, by the shining big sea water, stood the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Dark behind it rose the forest, rose the black and gloomy pine trees, rose the firs with cones upon them. Bright before it beat the water, beat the shining big sea water. There the wrinkled old Nokomis nursed the little Hiawatha, rocked him in his linden cradle, bedded soft in moss and rushes, safely bound with reindeer sinews, stilled his fretful wail by singing. Many things Nokomis taught him, of the stars that shine in heaven, showed him Ishkudah, the comet, Ishkudah with fiery tresses, showed the broad white road in heaven, pathway of the ghosts, the shadows running straight across the heavens, crowded with the ghosts, the shadows. At the door in summer evenings sat the little Hiawatha, heard the lapping of the waters, heard the whispering of the pine trees, sounds of music, words of wonder. Mini Wawa, said the pine trees. Mudwe Ashka, said the water. Saw the firefly, Wawa Tesi, flitting through the dusk of evening, with the twinkle of its candle lighting up the brakes and bushes, as he sang the song of children, sang the song Nokomis taught him. saw the moon rise from the water, rippling, rounding from the water, saw the flecks and shadows on it, whispered,
"What is that, Nokomis?"
and the good Nokomis answered,
Once a warrior, very angry, seized his grandmother and threw her up into the sky at midnight. 'Tis her body that you see there.
When he heard the owls at midnight, hooting, laughing in the forest,
"What is that? What is that, Nokomis?" That is but the owl and owlet talking in their native language, talking, scolding at each other.
then the little Hiawatha learned of every bird its language, talked with them whene'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's chickens. Of all the beasts he learned the language, learned their names and all their secrets, talked with them whene'er he met them, called them Hiawatha's brothers. Then Iago, the great boaster, he, the marvelous storyteller, he, the traveler and the talker, he, the friend of old Nokomis, made a bow for Hiawatha. From the branch of ash he made it. Then he said to Hiawatha,
"Go, my son, into the forest, where the red deer herd together. Kill for us a deer with antlers."
Forth into the forest straightway, all alone, walked Hiawatha, and the birds sang round him, o'er him.
"Do not shoot us, Hiawatha."
Up the oak tree close beside him sprang the squirrel Ajidamo, coughed and chatted from the oak tree.
"Do not shoot me, Hiawatha."
But he heeded not nor heard them, for his thoughts were with the red deer. And he waited till the deer came, till he saw two antlers lifted, saw two eyes look from the thicket, saw two nostrils point to windward, and his heart within him fluttered, trembled like the leaves above him, like the birch leaf palpitating as the deer came down the pathway. Then upon one knee, uprising, Hiawatha aimed an arrow. Scarce a twig moved with his motion, scarce a leaf was stirred or rustled, but the wary roebuck started, stamped with all his hoofs together, listened with one hoof uplifted, leaped as if to meet the arrow. Ah, the singing fatal arrow, like a wasp it buzzed and stung him. Dead he lay there in the forest, beat his timid heart no longer. But the heart of Hiawatha throbbed and shouted and exulted as he bore the red deer homeward, and Iago and Nokomis hailed his coming with applauses. All the village came and feasted. All the guests praised Hiawatha, called him Strongheart, Songitaha, called him Loonheart, Mongotesi. On the mountains of the prairie, on the great red Pipestone quarry, Gitche Manito the mighty, he, the master of life, descending on the red crags of the quarry, stood erect and called the nations, called the tribes of men together. Gitche Manito the mighty, the creator of the nations, looked upon them with compassion, looked upon their wrath and wrangling but as quarrels among children. Over them he stretched his right hand to subdue their stubborn nature, spake to them with voice majestic, spake in this wise:
O my children, my poor children, listen to the words of wisdom, listen to the words of warning, from the lips of the Great Spirit, from the Master of life who made you. I have given you streams to fish in. I have given you bear and bison. I have given you roe and reindeer. Fill the marshes full of wildfowl. Fill the rivers full of fishes. Why then are you not contented? Why then will you hunt each other? I am weary of your quarrels, weary of your wars and bloodshed, weary of your prayers for vengeance. All your strength is in your union, all your danger is in discord. Therefore be at peace henceforward, and as brothers live together.
From the red stone of the quarry, with his hands he broke a fragment, molded it into a pipe head, shaped and fashioned it with figures. From the margin of the water took a long reed for a pipe stem with its dark green leaves upon it, filled the pipe with bark of willow, and erect upon the mountains, Gitche Manito the mighty smoked the calumet, the peace pipe as a signal to the nations. And the smoke rose slowly, slowly through the tranquil air of morning. First a single line of darkness, then a denser bluer vapor, then a snow-white cloud unfolding like the tree-tops of the forest, ever rising, 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 till it touched the top of heaven, till it broke against the heaven and rolled outward all around it. And the prophets of the nations said, Behold it, the Pokwana! By this signal from afar off, bending like a wand of willows, waving like a hand that beckons, Gitche Manito the mighty calls the tribes of men together, calls the warriors to his councils. Down the rivers, o'er the prairies, came the warriors of the nations, came the Delawares and Mohawks, came the Choctaws and Comanches, came the Shoshones and Blackfeet, came the Pawnees and Omahas, came the Mandans and Dakotas, came the Hurons and Ojibways, all the warriors drawn together by the signal of the peace pipe to the mountains of the prairie, to the great red Pipestone quarry. And they stood there on the meadow with their weapons and their war gear painted like the leaves of autumn, wildly glaring at each other, in their faces stern defiance, in their hearts the feuds of ages, the hereditary hatred of ancestral thirst of vengeance.
I have sent a prophet to you, a deliverer of the nations, who shall guide you and shall teach you, who shall toil and suffer with you. If you listen to his counsels, you will multiply and prosper. If his warnings pass unheeded, you will fade away and perish. Bathe now in the stream before you, wash the bloodstains from your fingers, bury your war clubs and your weapons, break the red stone from the quarry, mold and make it into peace pipes. Take the reed that grows beside you, deck them with your brightest feathers, smoke the calumet together, and as brothers live henceforward.
Then upon the ground the warriors threw their cloaks and shirts of deerskin, threw their weapons and their war gear. From the water came the warriors, clean and washed from all their war paint. On the banks their clubs they buried all their warlike weapons. Gitche Manito, the mighty, the great spirit, the creator, smiled upon his helpless children. And in the silence, all